Another big story we are following this evening, the two mass shootings in Baltimore yesterday. No arrests have been made in either one yet, and in all, 10 people were shot in Baltimore yesterday alone, including a juvenile.
Y'all like, oh man, this dude laughing, man. Why you laughing, man? Ain't nothing funny, man. Ain't nothing funny, man. Why you laughing, man? Man, listen, man. 2 mass shootings in one city. Well, in one section of one city, in one community in one city. No one in custody. No one in custody. Who thinks that if a glider committed a mass shooting, just one in the whole country, that he would still be on the lam? Or his face, his picture wouldn't be flat blasted all over CNN and MSNBC, Twitter, and everybody would be a B-O-L-O, a BOLO, be on the lookout at. It'd be everything. Every kind of warning, Amber Alert. It'd be everything looking for this guy. And this happens in every Sun City every day. Mass shootings every day. In Philly, New York, DC, Baltimore, Birmingham, Gary, Indiana. No one in custody.
No arrests have been made in either one yet, and in all, 10 people were shot in Baltimore yesterday alone, including a juvenile.
On North Rose Street, more than 60 shots were fired. Terrifying moments that certainly left many families shaken. WJZ investigator Mike Helgren, he has been on this story from the start, live at the scene of that brazen daytime gunfire with new insight into what happened. Mike.
Rick, Denise, bullets were flying everywhere, and we've seen a police presence here on and off throughout the day. You can see some of the bullet holes in this BMW right on Rose Street. Now, we're told the man who lost his life was shot right behind that black SUV. We talked to some friends and family members who are heartbroken tonight. So many shots were fired, more than 60 of them. You could barely see the pavement on North Rose Street. Covered in...
I wonder how much these evidence markers cost me. Because, listen, man, you can only use these joints once, man. These evidence markers. Let's just say that you can only use them once, right? They costed just in this. This is what you got to understand. Just in this. Just this alone. These evidence, having these, because every cop got to have these on them. It's not just like they got some for the whole unit. All the detectives that come, they got to have this stuff. The city probably spends thousands of dollars just on evidence markers. We an expensive group of people, man. And all we do is complain, not enough this, we need more of this, we need more of that. We need to invest in our community. Well, can we send some people a bill at the end of the year?
We talked to some friends and family members who are heartbroken tonight. So many shots were fired, more than 60 of them. You could barely see the pavement on North Rose Street, covered in a sea of yellow evidence markers Tuesday afternoon. 4 were shot here. Police identified the victim who died as 25-year-old Sean Cummings.
And I had to sit here with this man and watch this man losing his breath, not breathing. His last words was to me, man. Like I feel some type of way because that's somebody that I love.
Sean's friend told me about his final moments and says the victim's brother was also shot in the same incident. What did he say to you?
He just told me call the ambulance, and he couldn't say nothing else. He was just like, call the ambulance. What do you say when somebody that you love is gone? What can you say? You hurt? you mourn, you get through it, man, and you just hope things get better.
Some people are, my God, man. Like, this is like fresh, man. This just happened, man. They interviewing this brother, man. He already talking about hoping things to get better. Listen, man. I wonder how many people this guy knows that have been shot. He looked like a, look, they had chairs out there. It was out there sitting on chairs on the street. So they hood comfortable, man. And it looked like a rough spot, man. You got, like, they'd have demolished these houses. So there used to be houses here. They demolished them. This looked like a rough spot. And obviously, it was a mass shooting there. So, I wonder how many, this brother got to be every bit of 50. Brother probably 50. I wonder how many people he know that have been killed, murdered. I would estimate it's probably 100. He probably knows 100 people that have been murdered. What you think about that, Gliders? How many people you know that have been murdered?
Same incident.
What did he say to you?
He just told me call the ambulance, and he couldn't say nothing else. He was just like, call the ambulance. What do you say when somebody that you love is gone? What can you say? You hurt, you mourn, you get through it, man, and you just hope things get better.
Just hours later in northwest Baltimore, 5 people were shot in another mass shooting. Leaders promised action to stop the violence many believe is out of control.
When we catch them, we have to make sure that those repeat offenders are not out committing.
Repeat offenders, man. I talked about that. I'm one of the only YouTubers that's spoken about that. Hopefully other YouTubers speak about that, because it's a lot of stuff that, it's just unnecessary jibber jabber that's just, gibberish about situations like this. It's a repeat of it's the same guys. Okay? That's why you see in a lot of these states using these RICO acts on these guys, because it's the same guys, the same group of guys. The homicide in this country is committed by I don't want to be overzealous. I probably say it's probably, what is it, 370 million people in this country, or 380 million people in this country. It's probably 1 million people in this entire country that are driving the crime. And of course, it's some people, the violent crime, the gun violence. And how can that small of a group of people drive what we're seeing in the streets of America? Because they let them out, and they let them out again, 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 and let them out again. And that person really commits the crime of a dozen people in his career. Whereas in a perfect world, he would commit the crime of one person. Because he's let out over and over again and repeat offends, he commits the crimes of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people in his criminal career.
To make sure that those repeat offenders are not out committing more violent crime.
When is enough enough?
Enough is enough when we say, all right, that was the last shooter.
Activist Tyree Moorhead does not have much faith in the politicians.
It feels like they're not here. Like they don't live in these streets, these neighborhoods. They don't hear these shots.
Not for nothing, man. It's some rough-looking brothers in Baltimore, Jack. I ain't even gonna hold you. I ain't sitting there trying to act like I'm Denzel Washington, nothing, man, but these some rough-looking brothers, Jack. You can see it in their face. We just did a video. We just did a segment on the live stream. Make sure you join us every Tuesday and Friday, 9:30 p.m. on Ock Nation TV. The link is in the description box. We just did a segment on Liberia, man. And these brothers straight up look like Liberians, man. You had to see that segment in the last live stream to know what I'm talking about. These brothers look like Liberians up here in Baltimore, man.
When is enough enough?
Enough is enough when we say, all right, that was the last shooter.
Activist Tyree Moorhead does not have much faith in the politicians.
It feels like they're not here. Like they don't live in these streets, these neighborhoods. They don't hear these shots.
In East Baltimore, many are scared. For months, the violence has not let up. Victims include a Safe Streets worker gunned down in a mass shooting just 2 blocks from where Sean was killed.
Ducking behind the cars or ducking underneath the cars, yeah. Because how bad it is.
What would you say to the mayor and the commissioner?
Mayor, please look out for our children and do something. Get on this and clean this mess up.
Now, we all know what she's going to say when they do clean it up, right? Chat. What when they start cleaning it up, they start handing out these indictments and they start putting these RICO Act on these gang members, and they start, ramping up the pressure. We do know what she's going to say then, right?
Get on this and clean this mess up.
So much gunfire, you're looking at another bullet hole in the front of this car, and so much frustration. Police are still looking for tips in these cases, and our team coverage continues with Jessica Albert live also in this community where a vigil and rally is getting underway, and she spoke to one of the organizers. Jessica.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, that rally is scheduled to start in 30 minutes at 5:30, right where I'm standing here on the corner of North Milton and East Monument Street. I spoke with the organizer of this rally. He says the goal tonight is to highlight all of the good work that's being done in the community and not just the violence. Baltimore's nonstop violence is taking a toll.
We just see the change. And over the years, it's just getting worse instead of better.
Frances Dickens has lived in McElderry Park for 39 years. She's heartbroken over the mass shooting that happened on North Rose Street Tuesday. It happened just a block from her home.
Them daggone balloons, man. Man, listen, man. Again, we did a segment on that on the live stream. Listen, these sun people are destroying the ecosystem and the environment with these balloons, man. These balloons go up in there and they come down, and in pastures, cows eat them. They come down in rivers and lakes, and animals get tangled up in them. They come down in on power lines, the metallic ones, and cause power outages. Just across the board. Like, think about how much that costs the governments of these places. Like, we gonna send some people a bill, man. At the end of every year, man, every city should be able to send the Sun community a bill, and BLM got to pay for it out of their donations.
Frances Dickens has lived in McElderry Park for 39 years. She's heartbroken over the mass shooting that happened on North Rose Street Tuesday. It happened just a block from her home.
We as people of color, we just keep killing each other, and it's the young people. Where our future gonna, they are our future. And we don't have no future of no young people because they're killing off each other.
WJZ has been investigating why certain areas of the city are more prone to violence than others.
Why? Why more? Why are certain places more prone to violence? Hold on, man. Why are certain places more prone to violence than others? Can't quite put your finger on it yet, huh? Whoever at the Baltimore news station can't figure that out need to be fired on the spot. Okay? Period, man. You don't know why certain neighborhoods. Really? You stumped. Okay.
WJZ has been investigating why certain areas of the city are more prone to violence than others. Researchers with the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Solutions say
it's concentrated in particular neighborhoods that experience economic and racist issues in the past and currently right now.
Dang, man. John Hopkins was a good school, man. Y'all had affirmative action that place into the gutter, man. What's going on here, man? This is Johns Hopkins, man. He looked like a cousin of mine, too. Like, I got a cousin that look very much like him, but Jesus Christ. Salute, bro, but dang, man, you a PhD? And that's what you came up with? Dang. PhD from Johns Hopkins, man. And his, after, and that school's in Baltimore. And his after being in Baltimore, getting his PhD, that takes time. Probably been in Baltimore, quite a bit of time, man. After spend all that time in Baltimore, that's the best you can come up with, man. It's because of racism, poverty. So how you explain Young Thug and Gunna, man? How you explain Casanova? How you explain all these rappers, man? That blow more money than you make a year at the strip club. They blow your whole check, your whole yearly salary on Cristal and Ace of Spades in the club in 1 month. How you explain that, man? Huh?
the city are more prone to violence than others. Researchers with the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Solutions say
it's concentrated in particular neighborhoods that experience economic and racist issues in the past and currently right now.
And they say policing alone won't stop the violence. Investing in the communities affected will.
We also need to be committed in the long term to changing the conditions in the neighborhoods most impacted by gun violence.
More money, more money, more. Look, man, we getting broke, man. Listen, man. These some people is they breaking us, man. We don't have no more money. We tapped out, man. You want more money, pasty lamp? You want us to send them more money? I bet you guys didn't know the highest funded schools in the country is Baltimore City schools. They get the most funding per student. I've already done videos on all the programs they got. Listen, man, a wise person living in Baltimore City or any of these major cities, a wise, shrewd, crafty person could live a $100,000 a year lifestyle for free just by strategically using all the programs, all the free stuff they got for some people. I mean, they got clothes, they got food banks, they got, shelter. Now, and I'm not talking about shelter, housing. They got housing. And I'm talking about good apartments. Because we seen, as I showed you the other day, man, you can live in a nice apartment building. You can live in an apartment building like you can live next to that guy, the PhD. You can be his neighbor and broke on welfare. You can be his neighbor in his high-rise apartment. It's all, they have everything, man. You don't, if some people there just took the time to go to each program and sign up for all the services, you could live the life of somebody who makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for free. So, sorry, Pasty Lip, we don't have no more money for your community, man. We tapped out, man.
We also need to be committed in the long term to changing the conditions in the neighborhoods most impacted by gun violence.
There is a community effort to stop the violence in McElderry Park. An organization called the Tendea Family is holding a rally here. They're hoping to offer support to the people of this community.
And we don't want the quadruple shooting to make the community lose hope or lose faith that things can change, because there's people on the ground every day not just trying to make a change, but actually making a change.
And again, that rally will start at 5:30. The organizers are already out here getting set up for the event. They say that they will be offering resources here to the people in the community that have been impacted by all of this violence. Reporting live tonight in Baltimore, Jessica Albert for WJZ.
It's time for the mic drop. On each show, going deep on one topic affecting our community in hopes we can all learn a little more. In the immediate aftermath of George Floyd's murder, most right-minded Americans called for some sort of reform in the way law enforcement interacts with certain members of the public at large. And I say some sort because at the time, we didn't know exactly what that should look like. But we did know that something had to change. And it wasn't just us. Again, at the time, most elected leaders and members of law enforcement agreed and made pledges to implement new policies. Or at least, study implementing new policies. But, as we've seen, between then and now, there hasn't been a whole lot of movement on that front. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act stalled in the Senate. Talks of defunding the police, which doesn't mean anything other than reallocating the substantial monetary resources to other areas in efforts to improve policing, are held out as a betrayal of law enforcement. As if we're not allowed to demand that our public servants do better. Now, having said this, there are reform efforts happening on the local level that seem promising and illustrate a way forward for the rest of the country. Like last fall, the city of Alexandria instituted ACORP, the Alexandria Co-Response Program, pairing a member of the Alexandria Police Department with a member of the Department of Community and Human Services. Together, the pair will respond to calls involving people who may best be served by a professional armed with mental health knowledge rather than a taser or a gun, called a co-response team.
I don't care what they show us, man. I don't care what they show us. How they try to spin this, man. This ain't gonna work, man. Now, Alexandria, if you don't know, is a suburb of D.C. And it's getting sketchier and sketchier every year, man. It was pretty nice back in the 70s and I guess the 80s or something. The Sun Man started chipping away at it, man, and now it's, now they got hoods. You get your nugget knocked off your head out of Alexandria now, man. Yeah, man. This ain't gonna work, man. And bruh, man, what is it with this guy, man? In the anti-police talk, man, and the always want, like, bruh, man, you making it unsafe for us, man. If you have any kind of, you do have a huge platform, the largest news station in D.C. You get an open mic segment every week, spout your agenda. But, like, bro, man, think about other people, man. What about grandmas and little old ladies and kids and, like, people that are handicapped or just brothers that don't want to, like, get into some gangster stuff all the time, man. You making it real dangerous for them, man, with your agendas, man. Now, last time, man, I told you, I hope somebody sent you the last video we did on you, man. Don't seem like you learn much, man. You getting worse, man. It's probably getting worse since the last time we visited him, man. And he was bad, man. That last video was bad. And this brother actually managed to get worse, man. What's going on, man? Get it together, brother.
And per a report commissioned by the city of Alexandria, the results have been positive so far. According to the report compiled by the Omni Institute, the new co-response team responded to 145 out of 958 behavioral health calls made between October of last year and February of this year. Of those calls, 45% were resolved on scene. 36% were given resources or referrals to community services or were provided voluntary transport to hospitals or shelters. Only 13% of those calls resulted in involuntary transport. In total, one of the most positive signs for the program, 71% of the calls that could have resulted in arrest did not.
Most people don't watch my channel. He thinks that most people are pasty libs and sisters that have no idea about the streets. Most times the cops show up on the scene. A lot of times they do a lot of talking too when they leave. They don't arrest brothers. They don't really, well, obviously it's about brothers. They don't arrest brothers every time they show up on the scene. Many times the brothers run. But I mean, a lot of times, listen, this notion that every time the police show up, that it's just like a life-threatening situation, it's go. That be because brothers don't know how to act, man. A lot of brothers, man, they talk it out, they explain themselves, they respectful to the cops. Or just, let me put it like this. The bar is so low, they're not overly disrespectful to cops. That's all you got to be with the cops, really. Is not overly disrespectful. And of these numbers, 45 were resolved on the scene. 45%. Can you compare that? Because if that number was so much greater than the number of police interactions that are resolved on the scene, they would have shown us. Hit one if you agree with that. When they say 45% of these behavioral health calls responded to by their social workers and their co-op resulted in 45% of the time it being resolved in the scene. If that was better, let's just say the cop percentage was 38%. They would have put that up there. They'd have been like, see, there's a 7% better. 7% better rate when we send social workers with a cop instead of two cops. Obviously, if you can read between the lines, that 45% resolved on the scene where no one gets arrested is probably in the same ballpark or even less than what happens when cops show up. Or they would have told us that. Well, that would have been like his main talking point. Well, he would have harped on that. They would have beat us over the head with that. The fact that they're not is giving me suspicions that it's probably not much different than what happens when the regular cops show up, except for the fact that when and if it does eventually start going bad for those social workers, they ain't gonna have no gun.
In total, one of the most positive signs for the program, 71% of the calls that could have resulted in arrest did not. And in one such call, the team was actually able to calm down a situation involving a person displaying suicidal behavior with a knife in hand. Despite the fear caused in the person by the heavy presence of police units, the team was able to gain their trust, get the knife, and take them to the hospital to get the help that they needed. And that is just one example showing us how police reform can be done. That there is, in fact, a better way. And the city of Alexandria agrees. They have earmarked funds for adding 2 more co-response teams. Programs like these appear to be gaining traction, and that's a very good thing. And not just in our area, by the way, because Fairfax County also has one, but nationwide.
as they should. We can take steps to bridge the gap between the police departments and the communities they serve by lowering fear and raising trust. And that, at the end of the day, is the goal, to bridge that gap. So I want to say bravo to the city of Alexandria for showing us that it, in fact, works and showing us what reform can look like.